Okay, this is part two for creating a digital collage with Adobe Photoshop. So this is where we left off on part one. So we're going to continue with our collage and we're now going to add subject matter. Now that we have the background, let's go ahead and bring in our subject matter. So once again, I have a new image that I pre-selected. I'm just going to go ahead and drag it in. It's an image of a hot air balloon. Again, you can see the bounding box going around the image. So again, you're either going to have to click on the check icon above or double click on the image itself. The bounding box will go away. And as we discussed in part one, we once again see the smart object icon and the layer thumbnail. We need to get rid of that so that we can edit the file directly. So I will take my paintbrush from the vertical tool palette, click on the image, click OK. The image is rasterized. And now we can see the icon is now gone in the layer palette thumbnail. Okay. So now we need to talk about using your selection tools to get rid of this white background. If you look here to the vertical tool palette, you can see that we have a number of tools. Here we have the marquee and the elliptical marquee tool. Below that we have the lasso tools, the lasso, the polygonal, the magnetic. And then finally after that we have the quick selection and the magic wand. Okay, so just looking at, for instance, the rectangular marquee tool, if I drag and make a shape, a lot of times we refer to that as like the marching ants because it looks like a bunch of ants moving on the screen. Another important thing before we even discuss further about the selection tool is now that we have more than one layer, it's imperative to make sure that the layer that we're trying to edit is actually selected before we try to do an action on the image itself. So I can see this layer is currently selected. If you toggle the eye icon to the left of the layer, it will verify that you do in fact have the right layer. Okay, with my selection in place, if I hit delete, I'm now getting rid of a chunk of that area. Now, if we look up at the submenu on the top, you may see like where I'm pointing, like this would mean here, I'm making a new selection in lieu of the old. So the old selection now goes away. If I click on the next box, that would be adding, and you can see the plus icon next to my cursor. That would mean that I'm adding to the original selection. If I click on the next icon, that would mean I'm subtracting from the original selection. And the last option would be intersect, and that would mean wherever the original and the new selection intersect, that's my new selection, okay? So as you can see that Photoshop in terms of selecting is very much like a sculptural additive and subtractive process. So if you make a mistake, you don't have to start over. You can just kind of work with what you have and gradually, manipulate it. Obviously, these marquee tools are not going to be working great for the shape. And then here we have the lasso. The lasso is really about more hand-eye coordination, okay? So that really relies like on your dexterity to be able to control, the mouse. I'm gonna go select, deselect to get rid of that. Then we have the polygonal selection tool. This is more like for kind of architectural, like geometrical shapes, because every time you click, you get a straight line. And so you can imagine like if I was trying to select like a city line or something like that, a tool like this would work very well. But the reason why that I got an image with a white background is because of these automated tools like the quick selection and the magic wand tool. The quick selection tool, for example, if I just click my mouse and drag, look at how it's like automatically going around that white background against the balloon shape. It did bleed in a little bit, but it did work pretty well. Then I have the magic wand tool. Like every tool, you have to look at the top of the submenu to see what's going on. So here we have a thing called tolerance. Tolerance is at 10. The higher the tolerance, the more sensitive the magic wand will become. So if I click in the white area, it's going to make an assessment of those values and basically select surrounding areas. At a tolerance of 10, it virtually made a perfect selection. Again, if my tolerance was higher, it might select more information, being more sensitive. But now that I hit delete, I've gotten rid of all that data. I'm going to go select, deselect. To get rid of that little bit on the bottom, maybe I'll take the marquee tool. I'll just go ahead and select that and then hit delete. And now I have my balloon left.